Hello, hello, hello. Let this thing spin. Let me know I'm alive. Yay. There we go. Cool. Okay. All right. I'm excited about this topic. We shall see where it goes. Does everybody have their water? Grab your water. Grab a little notebook. And let's talk about the scale, y'all. Let's talk about the scale. Let me pull up my little notes. Yes, we are talking about the scale. Some of you have been through the Healthy Edge program and you know very clearly what I feel about the scale. Others of you maybe do not know me as well or are not familiar with my stand on the scale. And so my goal in this call is to challenge you to make a decision after this session, this straight talk about the scale. Now, for some of you, the scale's not an issue right now. You still need to listen to the straight talk because we go in and out of seasons. We ebb and flow with how we feel about our bodies, how we feel about our health journey, temptations. All of these things can look different in different seasons. So I always think it's interesting for us how God brings things into our path at different seasons to maybe unearth another layer that wasn't available in a season before. So with the scale, we are in a really, really interesting time where we have a lot of uncertainty. We have a lot of emotional upheaval. We have a lot of isolation that we're dealing with, and we're searching for certainty. We are searching for control. We are searching for connection. And recently there has been a uptick in my conversations about the scale with my group coaching and my one-on-one clients, more so than in recent years, really. It's just this consistent thing that's been coming up. So we're going to talk about it. And again, just meet me where you're at. I hope you feel challenged. Take some notes and really ask the Lord to speak to you about this topic. Because I think for many women, there is a desire for certainty that's driving this temptation during this time right now. So if you're listening to this live, you know that we're going through COVID. We're going through a lot of racial tension. There's riots in different cities. I mean, Seattle, where I live, is all across the national news. Like, there is so much uncertainty. There's fires going on. I mean, really, you guys, we are coming to the season that Revelation talks about in the Bible that many people don't want to read, but this is coming towards the end of times. Like, I'm not saying it's ending in a year or 6 months or 100 years, but we're getting there. We're getting closer. And so with all of this, we are looking for certainty, and there's a temptation that's driving us to go to the scale. Now, maybe you've been talking to yourself about getting on the scale lately, like, I wonder what it says, or I'm doing really well. So maybe you haven't stepped on the scale, or maybe you have, but I feel like we are looking for something to prove our self-worth. We're looking for something to prove our ability to maintain control in the midst of a lot of things not being in our control. We're looking for proof of our success as compared to other people. We're looking for proof of our beauty as defined by the world. We're looking for proof of our worthiness to be loved and to deserve things and to deserve happiness. And I think at this season, we're also looking for a desire to do something for ourselves. So the scale offers an opportunity to maybe for a moment fit one of those categories, give us what we need in one of those categories. And the purpose of the scale is often twofold for women. Usually it's a place that we go, either one, for edification, for all the hard, grueling work that we've been doing, for all the sacrifices we've made, for all the workouts we've done, for all of our efforts. And what it does is it edifies our efforts and it motivates us to keep striving. It motivates us to keep on doing what we're doing, right? Then we've got this other side of it. It's the place we go for confirmation of just how horrible we've been. It's our place that we go for confirmation for our lack of self control. And why we do that is to give ourselves permission to seek out doing something extreme. Like, okay, Amber, I've been trying to do the healthy journey. I've been trying to like progress, not perfection, not be perfect, 80/20. But the scale is showing me that I am out of control. And so I'm giving myself permission to do something extreme, something regimented, so that I can control my out of control self. So those two reasons why we typically seek the scale. We're either edifying ourselves or we're condemning ourselves. And both of those have motives behind it. And I'm seeing that after months of isolation, months of discomfort, the scale is calling to us. It's calling us to just jump on it just to see how bad it really is. Is anybody feeling this way? Am I speaking to somebody? And I want to talk about the scale from the standpoint that I believe that the scale, especially in this season, but really all seasons, this talk is not going to ever change, that the scale presents a lose, lose, lose situation. We never, ever, ever win on the scale. So here's my argument, and you can disagree with me because you have a right to disagree with me. But here's lose situation number one. Let's say that you gain weight. Here's lose situation number one. You gain weight. The pangs of anxiety that are brought about by a higher number on the scale than what it was before or what we think it's going to be will drive most people into an instant panic, like an instant out of control, out of body, pressure on the chest, losing my breath, tingles through my body, sweats. Oh my goodness, I'm losing it. I am not okay type of feeling, if you guys can relate to that. And that instant panic can only be remedied, this is the enemy telling you this, by doing something extreme. Like doing something that maybe you told yourself that you would never do before or you would never do again. When you gain weight and that anxiety starts to rise up, you start to compromise all of your standards. Everything that you've discovered in your health journey, everything that you've discovered in your numerous attempts at dieting and never being free, and how in bondage you felt when you did all of those things, and how you lost weight and then you gained it all back, it all goes out the window. It's like you all of a sudden forget. And so the path ends in either revisiting an old diet, the thing that used to be your go-to, the thing that did work, even though you gained all the weight back, it did work. So it's that going back to that goal, that go-to, or it's beginning a new dysfunctional relationship with a new diet. And the enemy's so crafty. It's the thing that's been coming up on your news feed in social media, on Facebook, on Instagram. It's the thing that you've been hearing women talk about, or actually the thing that your friend's doing, that you've noticed that she's lost some weight, or maybe she's told you how much weight she's lost. The enemy plants all of this. He knew what was coming. Even if he didn't know what he was coming, he knew that he was planting seeds so that when you did get to a place of going, you know what? Screw the right way. Screw the freedom. I just need to get this. Like, I need to lose the weight. I don't care about all that anymore. I need to do this. Those little seeds were planted. And now it's the perfect opportunity for you to get in bondage to something new, something dysfunctional. And again, although you've tried things before, they've never been sustainable, they've never been enjoyable, you are so traumatized by the number that all rational thinking escapes you and you sell your soul. You sell your soul for the hope of a promise of a lower number. You don't care about being free in your body. You don't care about being free with food. You just want to be in a place that a number that nobody else knows, but something inside of you will feel like I'm okay. So that's the first lose situation. Now that's the obvious lose situation, but I want you to understand when that number goes up on the scale, what happens to us? We lose rational thinking. We lose sight of everything that God has done in our health journey. as we've traveled the healthy way and we've went underneath the food and we've gone underneath the reasons why I don't want to do what's best for myself. We lose all of that. And we literally go back to that superficial being. And you guys know what that feels like, that superficial place of I'm just going to do this to look good. I'm just going to do this to move the scale. And although we're in bondage, there's something about us that we just need to feel okay, so we make it okay. So that's the first situation. The second one is you lose weight. Well, Amber, how could this be a lose situation? Well, the other option is that it moves in the opposite direction. We would like to mean that means that we've had victory, right? But victory doesn't mean freedom. Success, our definition of success as defined by the scale, does not mean that we are free. Most women in their heart of hearts, on a rational day where they're speaking their truth and it's not clouded by fear or uncertainty, most women will admit at the deepest level of the core of their being, they want to be free. They want to be free in their mind. They want to be free in their body. They want to be free with food. They want to be free with alcohol. They don't want anything to run them. They want to be free of the scale. That's on a rational day. But the thought is that the number on the scale, there's actually a number that exists that delivers women into freedom. Such a lie. Women actually think that there's a number that exists. Some of them know what that number is in their mind. Some of them just go, well, I'll know when I get there. That once they hit that number, deliverance comes. And they're free in their body, and they're free with food, and they're free from the scale, and they've arrived, and they're good. I want you to think for a moment, has that ever happened to you? Because I've never met a woman, ever, that's how deliverance happened. Ever. That's not where my deliverance came from. So it's a lie. I want you guys to understand. I'm talking about the enemy today, whether or not you are a believer or not, he exists, just like God, whether or not you believe it or not. It's deception. It sounds ridiculous when I say it out loud, doesn't it? But we can all admit that we have thought it, and we have actually thought it to be true. That my deliverance will come when I hit that number. That number will represent that I am free. I am enough. I'm successful. And again, I've never experienced this myself. I've never talked to a woman who's experienced it. So I'm just calling out the deception. The truth is that if the scale moves in the right way, according to our worldly standards and according to what we measure success by in our weight, we actually find that the bondage increases. It does not decrease. What do you mean? You see, whatever was done, sacrificed, given up, counted, injected, restricted to get to that number, now must be maintained at all cost. So instead of fear of what a higher number means about you, the fear of what will happen if I don't keep doing what I'm doing sets in. Now, the worst part of this is most of the time what we do to get to the lower number, we know is not sustainable. I mean, it may seem in the moment like, oh, I'm never going to stop this. This feels amazing. But the reality is that deep in our hearts of heart, we know that we're probably not going to be doing this in 6 months, 10 years, 20 years, 30 years. So there's this fear of if I let go of what has got me there, then I'm going to lose it. So instead of just being in bondage to the scale, now we're in bondage to the diet, the system, the plan, or what got us there. So that's the second lose situation. The third one is that the number didn't move at all. So sometimes the number not moving indicates a false belief that I'm okay. So as long as the number doesn't move, I'm okay. But then every day you have to check to see, are you okay? And if the number goes up, you're not okay. And actually, if the number goes down, you may feel better, but you're still not okay because you're still allowing a number to control your emotional state and to dictate your behavior. Do you see the power here? You've given up all of your power, all of it. The power is gone. You got to step on the scale to figure out, what do I do today? How do I feel today? What are my choices today? All of that power rests on an inanimate object that doesn't even know who you are, knows nothing about you, has no thoughts of its own, but simply spits out a number. The I'm okay, like the scale hasn't moved, it messes with our heads. It leaves us in a state of struggling between the decision to relax a little and allow ourselves to indulge a little, allow ourselves to take our foot off the gas a little bit, or we have to make the decision between turning it up a notch so that we can see that number move in the other direction. It's the place of complacency that can be most torturous in our minds and in our spirits. It's that human need that we have, you all, to make progress and to not stay the same. So the scale staying the same can mess with this human need to want to improve ourselves, to want to see change, to want to have progress, so we can have this deeper sense of confusion and then not do anything different. So we're in this place of not changing, not doing, and actually having a fear of doing anything different because we don't know what that change will bring. So that's the third scenario. So what is the point of this? Whether the number goes up, whether the number goes down, or whether the number stays the same, we are screwed when we go to the scale. There is no win on the scale because the scale represents a standard. We are going to have to decide, ladies, where we get our standards. In your health journey, if the weight is your standard, you will be run by the standard. It will be your God. The scale will be your God. There is no room for God and the scale. I truly, truly, truly believe that. Because if you can tell me, Amber, I can get on the scale and have literally no emotional influence whatsoever about who I am, about what I'm eating, about what I'm doing for exercise, I can do that. Here's my question. Then why in the hell would you step on the scale? If it doesn't change anything about your health journey or anything about what you think, what's the point? There's a purpose for everything we do. We are always seeking something. We never do anything just for nothing. There's always something deeper. And Julie, if you're on the community, she posted about this. She felt that she had the need of the scale to make sure that she stayed in check. So you may be saying, Amber, that's why I'd get on the scale. I just want to know. I just want to keep myself in check. And she got this revelation of how ridiculous that is, to think that the scale keeps her in check. Again, the power is on the scale. So the work you do on yourself is not going to be as intense and as deep and towards total freedom if you think the scale has to be there so that you don't lose control over yourself and you don't allow yourself to go too high on the scale. That's ridiculous. Because it takes all of the focus off of the behaviors, the fact that our health is a being. Like, I'm healthy. The reason I know I'm healthy is because of how I feel in my body, how I feel in my mind, how I can operate in my life. The scale doesn't tell me any of those things. I could step on the scale and hit the number that I always thought was like the thin, perfect version of Amber and still not have any of the things that I have at the weight that I have right now, which I don't even know what it is, to be honest with you. I know it's a lot less, I'm assuming, than what I was at one time, but it doesn't, that scale does not hold the freedom in my mind and my body. As a matter of fact, it would challenge that if I stepped on it today, because it would either be higher, lower, or the same. And those scenarios that I just talked to you would give an open gateway. The scale is a gateway. It opens up the gate to the discussions and the accusations and the assumptions that the enemy is going to put into your head. And most of us, if we're not strong spiritually, which we're all weak in our flesh and we're all growing in our spirit, will allow those things to settle in and we will wrestle with them. So, whether the number goes up or down or stays the same, we are screwed. So, what if there was a new standard to live by? Okay, and this is the standard that I share with the healthy. This is the healthy edge standard. This is the goal that I have for the women that I work with, the groups that I work with, is that what if there was a new standard in our health? I'm going to say health, and you can just say you maybe for you health is weight. Like I need to release weight, Amber, to be healthy. That's great, but I'm going to use the word health. What if there was a new standard in our health journey that had nothing to do with losing, but everything to do with gaining? Or it had nothing to do with losing weight, but it had everything to do with losing what's driving the weight. Because that's what all of my clients find. It has nothing to do with the weight. The weight is a manifestation of the other weight that's underneath it. So the whole process is about releasing or losing the stuff that has driven the weight. It's all about gaining truce, okay? Gaining truce so that we can gain the freedom that we're looking for. And this concept blows people's minds because it doesn't measure up with what we have been told our whole lives. But ladies, what we have been told our whole lives doesn't work. If it works, you would have found it. If it works, the diet industry would not be a $1 trillion industry. If it worked, you would not have conversations with all women that are like really close to each other. We all struggle in this area. So the worldly standard and the way the world is doing it is not the answer, really, for anything. I'm just letting you know. All of the things that's swirling around us right now, the world does not have the answers. God has the answers through Jesus. And he is the provider of all the answers. We have to choose which system we are going to be a part of. And God does want us to be healthy in our body. I truly believe that. But if we choose the worldly system, we are going to get worldly fruit. I got to get more. I got to be more perfect. I got to be better than her. I got to keep doing this. I've got to try harder. I've got to count more. That's the worldly system. Sorry, that's just what it is. But the heavenly system, the spiritual system, God's system is way different. It's way different. The currency is different. It's peace and it's freedom and it's hope and it's love and it's acceptance and it's abundance and it's freedom. I mean, that's just the word that comes to me. So you have to choose what system. And the healthy edge journey messes with people because the whole struggle is, but I want to be in the world, but I really want this freedom over here, but I want to do it, but I really want, and we can't have both. At some point, ladies, you're going to have to choose which system, and you're going to have to be all in because the two don't go together. You will have conflict. You won't find your peace and you won't be free. What if we didn't need the scale to motivate ourselves, but instead we were motivated by doing what is right for ourselves, doing what's loving, doing what is best for our life, our situation, our circumstances. So it's no longer dictated on, I'm going to eat this way because this is what the scale says, or man, I really need to hone it in because like I've gained 5 pounds. Instead, it's a journey of how do I love myself? People don't want to go to a journey to love themselves. They want to lose weight to love themselves. They want to go, Amber, once I get to that weight, then I will love myself and then I will honor myself and I'll accept myself and blah, blah, blah. It does not work like that. Never has, never will, never seen it, ever, ever. If you can't love and accept yourself exactly where you're at right now, how in the world are you going to act loving towards yourself and do what's best for yourself? You have to learn how to love yourself here. And for some of you, that's your healing. Your healing is actually loving yourself where you're at because all the pain of your life and all the trauma of your life has led to the weight. So if you don't go back and love those pieces and allow God's love to tend to those pieces, and you don't release the unforgiveness and the resentment and all of that grief and all that other crap, this can't go. That's really hard. My clients don't like to hear this. That's why the journey is months and years. I'm still on my journey. I'm what, 12 years into this, still on my journey. But here I'm in full acceptance that it's a journey and it just keeps getting prettier and prettier. I'm on a journey that I have acceptance that I just keep getting more and more and more goodness and love from the Father. As I love myself deeper, I get to love other people better. I'm getting more and more wisdom. So, like, I love this journey. It was really hard in the beginning, and that's the hardest part because the beginning is when you have to decide, are you really in it, or are you only in it if you lose the weight? Are you really in it, or are you only in it if it's easy? So you're challenged at the beginning, especially when you let go of the world system, you let go of the world standards, and you say, okay, I'm going to trust that everything I need is inside of me, and that God's going to provide anything that I don't need to keep me on this path. And if I pursue freedom and I lead with faith and I go on this journey to love God so that I can love myself, so that I can love other people, that this weight that represents pain, that represents wanting to hide, that represents rejection, that represents hatred to myself, that it will melt away as I allow God into what's behind the weight. Do you know how much faith that takes? Do you know that's why people work with me? Because their faith isn't strong enough for that journey. But my faith is, because I've been through it. And so I know what's on the other side of that. So I'm here to have faith when they don't. So you need someone like that in your corner if you decide that that's the path, that's the system that you're going to choose. What if our motivation was rooted in love and acceptance and freedom and not fear, rejection, and bondage? That is a journey in and of itself. To not eat something because I have a fear that I'm going to lose weight, but instead to eat something because I love myself. Totally different. And here's what I always tell my clients. You can eat ice cream. You can. But you either eat it from fear that I can't be uncomfortable in this moment. I cannot be with myself right now. I cannot be with my feelings right now. I cannot be in this place. That's fear versus, I love ice cream. Lord, you're so good. I'm going to have a little bit of ice cream with my daughter or with my family. And God, you are so good that I'm no longer bound by calories and my value in what my body looks like, that I can have a little bowl of ice cream and it's going to be okay. Same decision, two different motivations, two different sources. But I know. What if I don't lose weight, Amber? What if I don't lose weight? Here's my question. What if you lose weight and you're still not free? What if you lose weight and you're still depressed? What if you lose weight and you're still not enough? What if you lose weight and your husband still leaves you? You know, I've told this before. The best shape of my life. Now, granted, I was pregnant, but before I got pregnant, I thought I looked the best I'd ever looked in my life. Okay. Thin, strong, confident, walking with the Lord, just good, like really good with myself. And my husband cheats on me. Like, what? So what if you lose the weight and you're still subject to people's rejection dictating whether or not you're enough? Because rejection doesn't go away because you're thin. That's what I thought. What drove my eating disorders was that I believed I could avoid rejection if I was perfect on the outside. So as long as I could maintain perfection, or at least a high level of it, my thought was my chance of rejection goes down, but it actually went up. Because it's easy to because I was setting myself up for rejection. I was a version of myself that I couldn't maintain. You can only do that so long, and then the real you comes out. And when that real you bumps up against the facade of you, there's going to be turmoil. especially when you try to act like you're still this version. So if you lose weight and you're still not free, what's the point? And I see it all the time. What we really want is not weight loss. What we want is what we think the weight loss will give us. So if you're struggling in this area right now, ask yourself, when I lose the weight, what do I think I'm going to have that I don't have now? It's deeper too than, Amber, I'm going to be able to look better in my clothes. Why? Because right now with COVID, for some of you that are not going out in public, I don't know about you, but I've like wore this same thing for I don't even know how long, because I'm not going out in the public. I haven't wore hardly anything from my closet because there's nowhere to go. So you've got to like dig deep. Like what does losing the weight, what do I think I'm going to get? What do you think I'm going to gain? What do I think I'm going to gain that I don't have? And I want to lovingly remind you, or maybe reveal to you, is that we never find what we're looking for in our weight, ever. Rather, we must first find, heal, restore, address what we are looking for, and then release the weight as a result of it. So the weight isn't what we're trying to fix. The weight is a manifestation of what is broken. So if we just try to fix the weight, we never get to the brokenness. We never fully heal. So the weight always comes back. Or there's this constant battle to not get it to come back, and we keep stuffing. So we find new ways to cope. New things that we didn't even struggle with before, that we struggle with now, because the weight was just the superficial thing. This is a complete paradigm shift from the diet mentality. But if we're honest, and let's be honest, diets don't work. It isn't that people don't lose weight on a diet. I'm not saying that diets don't make people lose weight. I'm not saying that. It's that it doesn't set them free. It doesn't give them a place to be fully whole and healed. Most diets out there are addressing external things, and they are behavior modification, and they are systems that make us, who we think are out of control, feel like we have control, but they become our God. And so we're never free. The other thing is, I want to talk about jumping on the bandwagon of the friends and social media and the before and after pictures that you see, and on and on and on. I don't want to take advice from somebody who just lost 20 pounds. Good for you. Great. Good job. I want to take advice from somebody who's released 20 pounds and kept it off for 10 years. That's more valuable. I want that wisdom. I don't want to know what you just did during COVID to lose 25 pounds. Now, if it's healthier eating and all that, that's great. But here's the thing, guys. I've also seen people eating healthier, and then all of a sudden, because they have an all or nothing mentality. Anybody hear this? I'm all or nothing, Amber. And because they believe that they're all or nothing, and they've gathered evidence their whole life is all or nothing, those are people that when things get back to normal, you know what I'm saying? Now they're going out to fast food. Now they're going back out to restaurants. Now they've completely lost everything that they've created in this COVID situation, because underneath it, there was stuff. There was a reason why they can do things really well when they don't have the pressure of other people and parties and family gatherings and the stress of going to work and commuting. When all that's removed, they can do things really well. But when those things come back in, they will find themselves slipping. So I'm not even saying living a healthy lifestyle is necessarily in and of itself, by itself, is not enough if we don't address the stuff underneath us that shakes us, that rattles us, that makes us feel like we're not on a firm foundation. So we start letting go of the things that are really good for us, and we start grabbing onto those things that have been sources of comfort or escape or numbing mechanisms. If we don't address the things we're trying to escape and trying to numb, we are never going to be free, no matter how good the system is, how great the plan is, how healthy it is, how good for us it is, how sustainable it is. It may be sustainable from the standpoint of it's reasonable, I'm not starving myself, whatever, but it's not sustainable if you must always be in a stress-free environment, or you must always have to have extra time, or you must always be able to be home for so many hours. It's not going to work. If your life changes, then that becomes something that's not sustainable anymore. So basically, I can sustain this as long as my life sustains. Your life is never going to stay the same, ever. You're going to go in and out, got time, don't have time, going through a crisis, not going through a crisis. So in order to do that, we've got to deal with what's within so that we can have a strong foundation there. So when the wind blows and the storms come, and we know that they're going to, we know who's in our boat. Jesus is in our boat. He's got it under control. We know who we are. We know where our source of hope is. We know where our faith is. We know where our worth is. We know where our comfort is. And when we start to allow God to tend to those places that food used to tend to, or exercise used to tend to, or binge watching Netflix, or alcohol used to tend to, when we give God those places, the weight has to come off, because the weight manifested from the very things that we were grabbing onto to try to tend to things that are basically wounds and pains. So we shouldn't be jumping on the bandwagon just because our friend lost 5 pounds. Okay. Hey, get some paleo recipes. Awesome. Ask her to share some things. Great. But don't sell your soul and jump off of this deeper journey and jump onto something just so that for a minute you can feel like you're in control because someone's telling you what to do and you've got something to follow. And now that I've got something to follow, Amber, I'm in control. No, you're not. It's a false sense of control. It is an absolute positive deception. Just like I know that I'm not in control, but I know who is. So because I know who is, I am in control. That is such a different mind shift. I am in control because I know who's in control. If I have to be in control only if my circumstances look a certain way, or if I can manipulate my circumstances in a way, that's a false sense of control. So at some point in our health journey, we are going to have to decide what we serve. You're going to have to choose if this is going to be a worldly journey or if this is going to be part of your spiritual journey. And I believe that it's all spiritual. I don't believe there's one area of our life that God wants to leave untouched. I don't believe, and the enemy will tell you, God's not concerned about your weight loss. He's not concerned about your weight loss. He's concerned about what's underneath your weight loss that you're desiring. He's concerned about what's underneath the unhealthy side effects that you're having. He wants the deeper. It's like going to a doctor and getting a pill for high blood pressure that does not cure high blood pressure, but it will bring the numbers down, right? But it doesn't do anything to go to the root. And God goes to the root. And then from that, the blood pressure gets taken care of. You're not trying to change the blood pressure. You're trying to change what is causing that number to go up and down. It's the same thing that we look for. Nobody wants to take a pill for the rest of their life. They don't. But most of the time, when they ask a doctor, what do I need to do to bring my cholesterol down? And the doctor starts talking about changes, like fundamental changes, or you can just take this pill. Most people will choose to take the pill because the other thing seems way too hard. It's the same thing with this journey. It seems way too hard. But I've never had a woman go on this journey, and maybe some of them will respond to this whole discussion. Never had a woman say, oh, Amber, I am in so much more bondage going through this journey of letting the Lord into my life. If anything, what they find is this: they have complete freedom and they're walking in it completely like, oh my gosh, Amber, I'm in freedom. I don't even care about the scale. I love my body. I'm good. To the enemy coming in and trying to insert a worldly standard into their godly journey. And they take the bait for a second, and now they're right back into bondage. And I love when the Lord allows that because it lets them see the contrast. They're like, whoa, I used to live there all the time, but I don't want to live there anymore. How do I get back to this place of freedom? And I'm like, yep, that's the Lord showing you. That's how big the contrast is. That's how big it is. So at some point, we will have to choose between seeking our self-worth and our confidence in a number or in a system, or seeking our self-worth and our confidence in who we are in Christ. You will have to choose. You cannot have both. or you will be in conflict. There's no freedom there. It's like we want to go, but Lord, can I just keep this? He's going to say no. Not because he wants to punish you or because he doesn't love you. It's because he loves you and he is committed to your total freedom. He began a good work in you and he will go until it's finished. Now, this may seem radical. It may be ridiculous to some of you, but it's exactly why there's such a struggle among women in our health. It's the enemy's breeding ground. It's where he messes with us the most. No woman goes unscathed when it comes to her body image. This is the place that he's having the biggest field day. It is causing issues in all of our lives because of this one realm. If we actually believe that our weight or our appearance is who we are, if we actually believe that our weight or our appearance is who we are or represents the value of who we are, we're going to chase everything but the truth. Because only the truth can set us free. And we will never find freedom in those places. The first place every health journey, every weight loss journey, every body journey begins with is our value. It starts with knowing our value, our worth, our purpose. Exactly where you're at right now, with the weight you have, with the eating habits you have. If you don't know your worth and your value and your purpose, aside from what the world says, which are all those standards that you're trying to measure up, if you don't know your inherent value as you sit right now, that it can't be changed, it is solid and firm and unmovable and unshakable and undeniable, then your journey is going to be exhausting if you don't start there. I make good choices because of who I am, not so I can be someone. And for many of you, your journey has been driven by trying to be someone instead of who I am. And that's a paradigm shift as well. Without this fundamental and foundational piece of who we are, our value, our worth, our purpose as it stands right now, with no weight loss, with nothing different, we will be an open target for temptations. We will be an open target for temptations to fix ourselves rather than solutions that God can give us to become ourselves. We're becoming who he created us to be. We don't need to change. We don't need to fix ourselves. We're becoming. I love that. So what if you don't need to be told what to do? I love this because all of my clients are getting different answers to their health journey. And God reveals to them what works for them, what works for their body, what works for their personality types, what works for the things and the hurts that they've experienced in the past, the failures, the successes. He will speak to them a system. Now, there's some fundamental things like drinking water and being hydrated, eating real foods. Like those are just basic. Those are black and whites. But there's all this gray in our health journeys. There's all this gray. And that's where God comes in. And these clients, and this is what I love about coaching women, is that it's different for each woman. My health journey looks different than any of my clients. And none of my clients look the same. And it's because he's so concerned with each one of us. And he knows us so well that if we just rest in him, and we say, God, you're the path. Show me my path. He will, and it will be personalized, and it will be perfect, and he will only reveal the next step when you're sure of the step that you're on. He will only allow you to see as far as you can without getting tempted or taking your eyes off or, oh, Lord, am I going to be able to do this? It's like it's so perfect, but we have to give him access to that. He doesn't just do it, but he will do it if we ask him. What if what you really need is to be reminded or maybe told for the first time who you really are? You don't need someone else to tell you how to be a better version of yourself. You need to be reminded and told who you already are. Maybe that's the secret of your journey. What if everything you need has already been given to you, and what you need to do is learn to use what's already inside of you? What if the source for your motivation is from who you are instead of striving to become someone in the world or striving for your identity? So, finishing these up, I believe that a diet is a short term way to punish ourselves, to basically remind ourselves how bad we are and how we need to not be trusted with our own self and our own efforts. And, we're out of control, so we need something to control ourselves. And the enemy wants to remind us and build up evidence that we cannot be left to our own devices, because when we do, we fail. Really, what's happening is that we're operating in our flesh, and we will always fail in our flesh because our flesh is feelings. Our flesh is quick to take temptations. Our flesh just wants to feel good. It just wants to be comforted. So actually, when we're walking in our flesh is when we are most likely going to feel like we're out of control, because our flesh is actually running us. But when we hand it over to God, it's now a spirit walk. So the spirit has power that we do not have in our flesh. The spirit can do things we can never do in our flesh. So the enemy wants to tempt us with things that are fleshy: counting calories, controlling things on the outside, the scale, the number, the chart on the wall, things like that. What if, so I'm going to kind of end with these questions. We want to be delivered from the weight, right? And the struggle. But God wants to deliver us from ourselves. And what if he wants to deliver us, for example, from rejection? From the rejection that has left us feeling like we need to be more, we need to be different than who we really are to be loved. What if he wants to deliver that? And when he delivers us from that rejection, then we can actually have freedom in our health journey, because now we're no longer trying to be someone to not be rejected, but we're coming from a place of acceptance. What if he wants to deliver us from unforgiveness that keeps us resentful and bitter, and that actually keeps us holding on to weight because all of our cells are vibrating with this anger and this unforgiveness, which is not safe. It doesn't feel safe to our body. So our body will actually hold on to weight when we're in that place of unforgiveness. So what if he wants to deliver us from the unforgiveness, so not only can our souls be free, but then our bodies can be free and can be safe to do what he's created it to do? What if he wants to deliver us from grief that we keep stuffing down and not dealing with all these mechanisms that are unhealthy? But if he was allowed access to that grief, we wouldn't need those things anymore, because the grief would be fully healed up. What if the weight isn't what you need to release and the behaviors are not what you need to change? But if both of these could take care of themselves, if you go to the deeper places of uncertainty and fear and pain, and when you go to those places and you allow God in, he is living water. He springs forth and basically manifests everything that you need from that place, underneath the weight, underneath the behaviors, because those things are just manifesting from the spring that's inside of us. So allowing God to be that spring. So what if? So that's the scale talk today. I know it's a little intense. I do want to quickly share just some stories of actual clients who they've given me permission to share. We had one woman who, she has been walking in a place of freedom and in peace in her body for the first time in a lot of months. She started noticing a difference. Well, first people started noticing. So she got compliments from people not even asking for it, not alluding to it, not telling them that she's on any type of journey, but like, wow, you're looking really good. Wow, you're looking really fit. Like, wow, I can notice a difference. So she received this edification. She was feeling amazing about it. She put on a pair of pants. They were looser. She wore an outfit that actually didn't cover her full, body or butt, how we do as women, like we cover everything up. And she felt awesome. And then she stepped on the scale searching for confirmation, and the scale went up a number. She was the same person before she stepped on the scale, as after she got off. The only difference was where her mind went. She was still that free person, that person that people are noticing her body's changing, that person whose clothes are getting looser, but that 1 pound up immediately sent her into, I can't do this anymore. This isn't working for me. I will do anything. Tell me what to do, but I'm not going to continue to do this. That fear, and it's that rise of whatever. The crazy thing about it is she was a part of a group program who watched her live in freedom this whole time. And so they got to see the power of that scale in that woman who was just walking in freedom, how quick the enemy can come and snatch that away with a lie, with a deception. And I told her, I said, even if the number would have dropped, you still would have been in bondage, because now it's like, I did this. I did that. I'm doing enough. I'm enough. These are the, it's like it just was the perfect thing that she needed in her health journey, because of all the things that God's bringing up in her to remind her that her results are already coming. They're already manifesting. She has more freedom in her life than she's ever had in areas, and God's bringing things up that he never had access to before, actually. This health journey has given him access to things that he would have probably never had access to. So in all of that, he's now speaking to her true intentions and kind of maybe uncovering some things that might still be there, that pull to want to jump back into the worldly system just for a moment. He won't allow that just for a moment. And then another woman jumped on the scale and she released 7 pounds. And here's where her mind went. That's not enough. Only 7 pounds? What? It should be more than that. And her struggle is not enough. She's never enough. It's never enough. Compared to other people, I don't measure up. So that number always reminds her, and will always remind her, I'm not enough. Because even if it would have been the number that she's expected, it would be like, but I still need more. So I want to show you this, because this is how it's always a lose-lose. Nobody wins. When you're trying to operate with God and invite him into this journey, you cannot be tied to the world. And so the last thing I want to end with is I am starting a new group. These group programs have been incredible for women to go on this very journey we're talking about. It's not just the scale, it's more than that. But whether it's one-on-one or group, I'm opening up some opportunities as we've been moving through. I've got some groups finishing up. So there's an opening, there's an availability. So I know that this isn't going to be something that you're like, yeah, I can't wait to do it. Some of you, you're kind of like that. But for most of you, you're like, I know I need to, but I really don't want to. So maybe you and I just have a conversation. So reach out, send me a message through email, respond back to one of the newsletters, respond to this post in the Healthy Edge community, because the group is 9 sessions, and we are in a really crazy season where we need to be in fellowship with people, and we need to not be operating in a world system. We need to be operating in a spiritual system. And our health journey is part of that, because how we do anything is how we do everything. And so it's really important how we take care of ourselves and where we go to in this season of uncertainty. So if you want to go on a really unique journey of taking care of yourselves and learning how to love yourselves and doing that with other women and sharing in that, reach out to me, because I'm going to start a group here. And I know that God always gives me the perfect people at the perfect time. So I'm just going to trust that that's going to happen. Okay. All right. I love you guys. Mwah! You're amazing. Thank you for listening. And I would love to see your comments if you're on Facebook. And if not, you can always respond back to any email that I sent out. I love to hear what you guys are up to. Okay. All right. God bless you guys. Bye-bye.